Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Erica, and I am the Lopsided Crafter. You can find me on all the socials as the Lopsided Crafter. That would be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Although I'm not very active on TikTok. I more scroll than place videos. We also have a website, thelopsidedcrafter.com. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you don't mind, please consider hitting the like button and the subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell so that you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. And if you feel so inclined, I would appreciate you leave a comment down below. It helps broadcast the videos out so that people can find them. I know there are not a lot of loom knitting videos out in the world, more tutorials, but not really, use this or use that type of thing. I want the loom knitters to be able to find my content. So thank you so much for supporting my channel by subscribing, hitting the like button, and or commenting. Today I'm going to go over a few what I feel is must-haves for loom knitting. Things that I wish I would have known before I started loom knitting, or things that I have discovered that makes my life as a loom knitter a little bit easier. So I wanted to pass this on to you. If you've been loom knitting a while, you probably already know some of these, and if you think of anything that I did not mention, please put it in the comments below so that other people can take advantage of these tips and tricks from you as well. So, one of the first must-haves for me are stitch markers. You can use different things as stitch markers. One thing that you can use is painter's tape. You can also use masking tape, but I find that the painter's tape is just a little bit less tacky, and it doesn't seem to leave residue on the loom. You know, like when you buy something and it's got like a sticker on it and you take it off and it's sticky. You can clean that off of, say, looms that are plastic with an alcohol wipe. But a loom like this from Cindy Wood Crafts, I haven't tried it, and I don't think that I want to because this is wood. I don't want to apply an alcohol wipe to that. So I find that the painter's tape works the best. You can also use washi tape, but washi tape doesn't seem to stick to the wooden looms in my experience as well. So why would you use painter's tape or masking tape? Well, you can put it on around the loom. You can either put it on the top right here, or you can put it down here on the side. And you can do that to mark your pegs off. Say that you have a stitch repeat of 4. You could do 1, 2, 3, 4, make a slash. 1, 2, 3, 4, make a slash, and etc. Or if you are doing, say, a repeat for a rib of knit 2, purl 2, then you could write KK, PP, KK, PP to mark off your stitch repeat. Another thing that you can use for stitch markers are these rubber bands. Now you can get some of these from the Dollar Tree in a much smaller package, or you can get some like these. I got these from Amazon, and this is what they look like. I tend to, for me personally, just to remember things because of I have ADHD, so I tend to want to do things that correlate with something. So if I have a pearl, I tend to use purple for pearl. That's just the way my brain works, and it makes things a lot easier for me. You can put them on the loom and double wrap them like these right here. Or if you have a stitch repeat, say of 5, then you can pop it over all 5 pegs. I hope you can see that right there. So you can double wrap like this or put them over multiple pegs. Why would you do that? Again, for your stitch repeat, if one particular peg is going to be, say, the first peg in a cable stitch, then you would mark off that peg. My hook just fell. Another must-have for me are yarn guides. There are several on the market. You can also make them yourself. You can make them out of a straw. If you have like an extra straw, say from McDonald's, you can use it, although those don't tend to last so long. If you have silicone straws, you can use those. Just cut them down to size, although those don't really hold your tension well. But it is an option if you need to use a yarn guide until you can get a better one. You can get ones like this from Cindy Wood Crafts, which is basically just an ink pen with the guts taken out. If you have an old ink pen laying around the house where the ink doesn't work anymore, pop the insides out and then you have a yarn guide. Another option is something like this made from Boye, B-O-Y-E, just like Boye crochet hooks. One thing I like about this one is it does come with this little metal guide right here. You can put your yarn right here in that hole. I don't know if you can see that. And then just put it down through the middle and pull it out the bottom and it will thread your yarn. I tend to even use this threader even when I'm using one like this. Whenever I order looms from Cindy Wood Crafts, I like, not every order, but I like to put 2 or 3 in my order so that I always have one laying around. Loom knitting can be just like crocheting and knitting. You always seem to have a project going. And yarn guides are a must because they definitely help with your tension. Now, I do not use a yarn guide if I am making a sock because the pegs are too close together to use a yarn guide. But if I'm using a larger loom, say one like this, which is the large oval Afghan loom from Cindy Wood Crafts, it is 200 pegs. I will definitely use a yarn guide for this if I'm going to be doing the E-wrap stitch, because the yarn guide will help maintain your tension, and it goes a lot faster. Another thing that I like to do is whenever I order from Cindy Wood, I don't do this all the time, but a lot of the times I like to pay a little bit extra to get pegs marked off in a particular sequence. So for this, you see that I have a blue peg and a purple peg. That represents either, depending on which way I'm going around the loom, either the first peg or the last peg in the round. And then the pink ones on each side represent just where I would do a border if my project was exactly 200 pegs. So then I know that I have 5 pegs on either side that would represent a border. Another option with Cindy Wood Crafts, if you are a sock knitter, is they will mark the pegs in a different color for your short row heel and toe shaping. If you, I will put the link below, but if you search Cindy Wood Crafts oval sock looms, you will see these sock looms pop up, and it will say there on their website, let us know how you want your sock loom marked off, or mark the way the lopsided crafter does, and then it will come to you exactly the way you need it based on your size. So this one is a 60 peg. So to do your short row shaping, you divide the loom in half and then divide that half into 3. So each third is for your short row shaping. That is one option. I also have another one, which this one is round instead of oval. I had this one specially made the same way, except that I had them add 2 pegs here in the middle of my, what would represent the crest of the heel. This is to do a different type of heel that I am working on a pattern for. So that one will be coming out soon. You can get any dimensions if there are, like I said, that one was 60. This is 64. I like to write my loom knit sock patterns for sizes that correspond with the same sizes that you see in needle knitting. So that way the pattern can be done pretty much, the base of the pattern can be done pretty much in with needles or with the loom. Now the heel shaping and the toe shaping is different than needle knitting versus loom knitting, but the concept is the same. So the body of the sock could be used on with either technique. Another reason why I like to have a 64 peg loom is because that's what size I knit myself in needle knitting. So if I find a sock pattern that is, your basic 56, 64, 72 stitches, but I want to do it on the loom, then I have a 64 peg loom that I can make for myself. Another must-have for me personally is a sock blocker. Again, this is just my opinion. You don't have to have one by any means, but I like to, especially with loom knitting, well, I mean, even with needle knitting, I like to pop my socks onto a sock blocker after I'm done working them. The stitches look a little different on needle knitting versus loom knitting once you are done. With loom knitting, because they are stretched out from the loom, you typically need to pull the socks to make the stitches look more uniform. But at the same time, you need to, in my opinion, pop them back onto a blocker because it helps the stitches relax, but it also makes them expand enough where they're going to sit on your foot correctly. So anytime I am done making a sock, I put it on the sock blocker, and whenever I wash a pair of socks, I roll them up in a towel, get all the excess water out, and then pop them on a sock blocker. There are many different types of sock blockers on the market. You can get the wooden ones like these, or you can get metal ones. I have both options. Another thing that I find for me is a must is a Lazy Susan. I have 3 different types. I have this one. I have one that is a little bit larger, and then I have a wooden one that is larger still. So I have what I call small, medium, and large. Another thing that I like to do is put a piece of shelf liner, like the foamy kind, on top of the Lazy Susan when I'm working with it. You can pick those up at the Dollar Tree. And then I put my loom on top of it. Now, I wouldn't use it with the large oval loom that I just showed you because obviously it's too big. But with the sock loom, the reason I like to use it is because then I can just turn the Lazy Susan instead of having to move the loom. There are two reasons why I like to use the Lazy Susan. Number one, I don't like to keep turning this because I don't want to mess up the bottom of the loom. I don't want it to get all scratched and dirty. Number two, especially for socks, if you have a lot of experience with socks and wool yarns, you will know that a friction will cause the wool to felt. So by continuously turning this, you are creating friction from turning, and it can cause your wool socks to felt. So that's why I like to use the Lazy Susan. If I don't have a Lazy Susan with me, say I'm working on this in the car or something like that, then I tend to set it on my chest and just, I will like pick it up and turn it. I never turn it on a flat surface because I don't want to felt my yarn. Another thing is a loom tool. Now, the majority of your, what I call big box looms, ones that you can buy from the craft stores, come with a loom hook. KB Looms has one in each of their sets. You can get them from Cindy Wood Crafts whenever you purchase a loom. At the bottom of the checkout page, they will ask you, include a loom pick, yes or no. So this is the one that comes from Cindy Wood Crafts, and it has a little pencil grip on it. There are some larger ones from KB Looms. There are some things that you can use for loom hooks that you wouldn't think of. So I'm going to do a separate video on different items that can be used as a loom hook. But here's one other, well, two others that I have right here in front of me that I like to use. These are resin hooks that I got on Etsy. These are made by Steve of Artisanal Turnings. Unfortunately, his Etsy shop is on vacation mode until September because him and his family are selling and buying a new house. So all the stuff that you've got to do with all of that. But these are very well made loom hooks, and I really like those. Another thing that for me, is a must, again, personal preference, is some type of storage, especially if you have any of the KB Loom Flexi Looms. Or any looms that have additional pegs in them. So I got this at Michael's. And I actually, what is it? It is actually just, it says it's a storage case. I think it's probably maybe for photos. I'm not 100% sure. But you open it up and it has these smaller plastic containers in them. So what I like to do is put my KB Loom Flexi pieces in them. So each one of these containers has a different color, because I have all three, maybe is there four? I don't know. I have them all. The bitty, let's see, there's bitty, regular, chunky. I think I'm missing one because I want to say that there's four. I also have several looms that are from, I got mine from Knit UK. You can also get them on Amazon, although I have not seen the Affinity loom lately. So I need to make another video on all the looms that I have so that you can actually see. But see, this one is for the Affinity loom. So So for me, it's just easier to put all these together. And then I have them in this little handy dandy storage case that I just pop right up on my desk. And then whenever I need to do something on the Flexi Loom or add pegs here or there, it's right there ready for me. And I don't have to go fishing. Because behind this wall, this wall behind me, I am in my she shed, and behind this wall, I would not be able to film because it is floor to ceiling yarn and looms and stuff that I just do not have room for, but I have had to have some sort of office space, but I still needed to be able to film. So I have this little wall blocking off everything else. So, I think that's probably all the loom knitting tips that I have right now. Again, if you guys can think of anything else that I forgot or did not add, please add it down in the comments so that everybody can benefit. I am going to do a more in-depth video on loom hooks, which ones I like, which ones I don't care for, which ones I use for a particular loom, because believe it or not, some of these loom hooks work better on one type of loom versus another. And yes, you can fall down the rabbit hole of loom knitting just like any other craft. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. And until next time, happy looming. Bye.